Welcome back to MCOC Al Bundy Roast. I got a little fun one for you. I have a little video to highlight 3 of my favorite champs, so much of which I got them all as R4 6-stars with 200 SIG each. So if I'm going to invest a SIG on them, I got to like them. So you see the signature ability. As we're going, this isn't a tutorial, okay? I'm going to show you what they can do. Some of these videos, I see people knocking some of these champs all the time. No, this and that. So just to kind of show if you're curious what's going on, I'm not going to fully explain what's going on, but you're going to see pop-ups on each of these 3 champs, starting with Knull. And on this first one, you just see the SIG. The 200 SIG is great because it starts his ramp up very quickly. One of the knocks on Knull is he's only for a long fight, some people say, or the ramp up takes too long, some people say. For a 200 SIG, I highly disagree with that. And as we watch this video, you're probably going to disagree with that as well. But again, that's the key thing, 200 SIG. Knull has lots of stuff. He can counter regeneration, as we'll see in here, can counter evade, counter a lot of stuff. He can get massive damage fairly quick, especially way quicker when we get that 200 SIG, because it gives him, it starts him off, what was there, on many, was it 15-ish, give or take, off the top of my memory, of his abilities, which gets where the ramp up gets on. A couple ways you can run them. For shorter fights, you will see me do some fights. I'll be doing mediums, or heavies to get up his count on his buffs right there. For the little ones he gets, that gives him the damage. I can do an S1. Once the timer ends, then you can start doing some massive damage. You usually see me running medium, light, because it stops the timer on that, where you're getting much more massive damage along the way as I'm working my way up to an S2. Longer fights, on the longer health pool fights, which we'll see in this little video on him as well. This one part, as the video is broken up into 3 parts, 1 part per champion. You see, in a longer fight, I might go to that S3, raking in as many of the charges I possibly can, and hit that S3. It starts instantaneously, and then start doing the medium, followed by 4 lights until I get to the S2. It is a pretty simple playstyle with him. You will see him decimate. You will see some massive damage adding up. He might not get like the 500,000 per hit, but he will get several hits of, 30 to 50,000 each. Many of those in a row. When you look at all the damage, especially on those get going with that living abyss, is the key thing. Again, not the tutorial. I'll talk about some of the rotations I use, as I'm talking about now, talking a little bit about why I'm doing what I'm doing. There's usually a method behind the madness. Sometimes I'm just a little weird and just do things for fun, but I usually have a reason for what I'm doing, as we see on most of these items. This specific fight is an LOL fight, 2.5 million, something around their health pool, big old health pool we got on the Star Lord. Starting off simple, you will see I'm trying to avoid too much of the parry on here initially, because on those LOL fights, the more you parry, it starts to kind of phase off over time as far as the duration of it. So I want to save that for when I need as much as possible, which means I'm relying more on dexting out of the way. I'm trying to do a bunch of heavy baits and special baits. I got my S3 ready, but I'm getting a little bit more of the charges on the Living Abyss before I knock out that S3, because we will see Star-Lord now almost full health, okay? Like, oh, his damage is weak, blah, blah, blah. We're just waiting. Watch this health pool. Look at Star-Lord's health pool right now. As I'm kind of getting a few of those little charges. You see I'm doing the mediums, or if I can get into heavy, either way is fairly similar. I'm not going to be too picky which one I get. I'm trying to get those charges as high as I feel like waiting for, based on my level of patience, because it's going to help me get a lot more damage really soon. Again, we're still fairly close to a maximum health pool, so until we get that Living Abyss going and get those charges going, until I launch this S3, now this is where things are going to get fun, okay? So, for you little Knull haters, does it take a few little bit to get up to this? Yeah, but I was running Knull rotation for this one for a long, high, like 2.5 million health pool fight. So that's why it took a little bit to get going. Now let's look at some damage. Look at these numbers popping up. Look at that health pool. We saw it was almost full very recently. Now let's look at this. We see yellow numbers, we see red numbers, we see white numbers, we see numbers flowing upon numbers. We see that health pool starting to melt fairly quickly. Now we're working on up to that S2. Look at that. Thing about LOL, there's that 50,000 health pool maximum. So that would have been more damage if I didn't have that 50,000 maximum on LOL. But even with that max cap, I am just melting stuff away because we're getting a lot of very powerful hits. And since we got that 11 Abyss going on, and since we launched that S3, we have seen this health pool just depleting at such a sweet pace. And I've been able to work all the way back up to another S2 while it's still active. Again, why doing the medium light works well is because it keeps that timer that we see that's getting really low, it pauses when we're doing those lights, which gives me a longer extender, which gives me a lot more hit. That's what we're getting our damage going on. The longer I can extend that, the better. You can also do a S1 to get it back going again too. A shorter period of time, but again, medium light can help you. And we have been seeing a ton of damage. Again, up until we did that first S3 not too long ago, a minute-ish, give or take ago, we were almost at full health on that defender. Now he has got very, very little left, and it is depleting at a rapid pace. Again, Knull is not only damage. One, he's also great, but he's also a pretty dang good defender, depending on if you know how to use him and what counters you have. The reverse controls, things like that can throw people off. He can be an evade counter. He can give you this massive damage, as we saw him destroy this approximately 2.5 million health pool. Fairly simple, fairly easy. He can counter regeneration, and we saw he did this very high health pool fight rather quickly. Gonna see another quick fight on still a rather high health pool, decent health pool, depending on where you're at in the game, but how quick. So I just showed you that Star-Lord from LOL fight to show you those massive health pools and how well he did that fight. On this one, unfortunately, ROL fights are very passive. We're going to see very different play style on these ones on the AI. So this one, I don't have to go through that long rotation. You could say on the last fight I did, oh, it took forever to get damage. Okay, I'll give you that. It was 2.5. This one, let's see the difference here. I started off with an S1. I did not go to an S3 this time because even though 500,000 health pool might sound like a lot, it's really not that much for an endgame content or an R4 of this magnitude. So I'm to S1 waiting for that timer. And then once that timer went up, I kept doing medium light. And now I'm going to keep doing medium light as long as that is up. Oops, just got a little too eager and ran into the last part of a heavy. There goes my little too overly aggressive. And then just working my way up to an S2. Again, these ones on the passive AI ROL can be a little annoying, especially when you're on timer deadlines, but we're still able to melt through that rather quickly. You see how easy that was on the Winter Soldier right there? We had a smack dab. Boom, boom, boom. Now let's go to Quicksilver. A lot of people who don't know how to play Quicksilver call him mid-silver, thinking they're so creative. Everybody says it. Who doesn't like him? It's not creative, by the way, y'all. Anyway, so first off, I'm going to start off with a little bit of A1 gameplay. So the way I have each of these sections, the first section was Knull, start off with some regular gameplay, then went to some different health pools where I can kind of show how it works. Here I've got a little bit of 8.1 story gameplay, then I'm going to get into some different fights, higher health pools, things like that. I could show some stuff. One of the fun things about Quicksilver is once you kind of get used to his animations, it takes a little bit on the animations. You've seen all this craziness, woo. Similar to Quicksilver, I am showing some of what we got here. I just showed his awakening ability. Of course, the awakening helps a bit, gives a little bit of extra ability on some of the ramp up and few items. Going to show some of his other things. So if you're not sure why something is happening the way it is, there's a high chance you will see the pop-up come up during the video. I cannot guarantee that I will specifically say it during my wonderful audio commentary. I'm using a little phone right now and trying to read what I have there. Isn't that easy to be fully transparent? Therefore, you can take a look, see what you got there. All these armor breaks you've seen, it's based on the know. This is from some 8.1 gameplay, trying to show you some real-life gameplay, some endgame content, or close enough to whatever is considered endgame these days. I'm not too sure. Again, this is the fight going on. I'll normally, a lot of times, try to beta Red Hulk's S1 just because it's a lot easier to get through, but go to the S2. A big thing on the Quicksilver right now, what I was trying to do with some high health pool content is I'm trying to get as much damage as I can. While I'm trying to ramp up the whiplashes, you keep the timer on the whiplash. I'm not too worried about the other stuff except for the momentum. A big thing is I'm trying to get up to 900 momentum to start the main momentum items. while I am trying to get to an S3 for long health pool fight. And although I have this listed as some H1 gameplay, I think I might have mismarked this and realized this is actually an LOL fight. But we just saw some crazy damage right there. A1 or LOL, I don't know. It was some big health pools right there. Took a little bit, got going. So S1s get the momentum. When you're trying to rank up the momentums to get the momentum started, S1s help you. If you do a heavy before that, it doubles it. So if you do a heavy and before the timer runs out, you do an S1, you would actually get 300. So you're trying to time when you hit 900 to when you're going to do your specials based on the fights. If it's a shorter fight, you might try to get the 900 momentum, then do an S2. For a longer fight, you might try to get the 900 momentum, followed by an S3, get a bunch of hits, and then work it back up to an S2 while you're still at that special mode. So something good about Quicksilver, a lot of champions, they might only have one or two specials that are really applicable. All of Quicksilver's specials have some real purpose to them, and you can work them in different rotations with them. From my play, my personal perspective, there are multiple rotations you could use on them, and you can use a combination of all three. I normally run Suicide Masteries or Recoil Masteries, whatever we're calling them these days. So I try to go to friendly to minimize the recoil damage on that. However, we do see this 400 and something-ish health pool fight right now, this Captain Marvel. What we're seeing as we are rolling around, and some of the other things too. I talked about the momentum when we get the 900 to start his main damage dealing aspect. However, when you get over 300, he becomes a great counter for Unstoppable and Evade at 300. At 600, it gets a little bit, and then 900. So keep an eye on that as some of those little tabs that are showing up, popping up on the window as you get familiar with how to do. He's got some great utility, got some great damage. He does take a little bit of ramp up. Another thing some people knock Quicksilver on is the ramp up. Keep in mind, you could see some longer ramp up if you're doing an S3 cycle, trying to hit the 900. It doesn't really take that much ramp up on, honestly. And if you time things correctly, especially things like you get your 900 momentum, and then you keep doing your whiplashes, keep the timer going on him. You don't want to let that expire. You can double them with your S2s. You can get a cycle going on. You can get you down here much quicker by doing some S1s, especially after a heavy. You will see me randomly dashing back a lot. That's to build up our momentum, as I'm trying to time the 900 along with whatever special I'm going for based on the fight. This one, we'll see, I try to get up to 300 as quick as possible, because once I get up to 300, we get that slow going on, which is going to stop that Unstoppable. So 300 momentums was a very important thing for me in this fight to get as quick as possible. So again, you can change what you're trying to do on this fight. Based on, you can also go for power control when you dex. You get several of dexes in a row, especially with Awakening. You can actually stop or even reverse power control, which could be good for those kind of fights. I don't have any of the fights where that's needed, but that's something that's really good about him. You can change your playstyle based on the nodes or the champ with him. For those who have learned how to use him, have learned to appreciate that, as opposed to some who don't appreciate Quicksilver quite as much. And then we see some damage melting away. It did not take that long to get that massive damage. For those who are trying to say he takes too long to ramp up, we will see that fight was over rather quickly, that 400,000 to 500,000 health pool area. As we go into the third, save for last but not least, Shang-Chi. The third out of this series of three 200 SIG R4 6-star champs I have that I'm going to highlight here. And what might be a part one, we'll see. If we like this video, we like seeing gameplay on some of these dudes that I felt is worth the SIG stones, that I have felt is worth the rank ups, that I have felt is worth the time to make some video on. Maybe I'll make a part two, as I have many more R4 SIG 200 champs that I can too. My personal theory, I'm not going to say I'm right on this. My personal theory, if I'm going to bring somebody up to the, what was up until very recently the highest rank in the game in R4. R5 just started coming out, I think, about a day or two ago. A couple people got him anyways. And I want to be able to bring them up to SIG 200. If they benefit fully or not, I'd like to try to max them out if I possibly can. The great thing about Shang-Chi is this dude is truly great. I don't hear too much. Unlike Knull, some people kind of like to hate on him because they haven't learned how to properly use him, or they think he's only one-dimensional. They've seen videos one way on him, not realizing you can use him other ways. Quicksilver, the same thing. People hate on him because they think he's only a long ramp-up champ, don't realize he could do a lot more than that. Most people understand Shang-Chi can be used in a variety of ways. His utility is amazing. And again, you're going to see the little pop-ups going up on the description description. So if you're not understanding why something's happening a certain way as far as how it happened, a little pop-up will come up and help explain it. The critical damage is great on him. You will see different rotations for me. I really don't have a set rotation I 100% consider needed on him, and I don't think many people do. Some have their preference. I mean, a lot of people have their preferences. We have preferences for everything in life, don't we? However, it depends on the champ a lot. If I'm going against somebody who might be an evader or somebody who might be a unstoppable champ, I'm going to be trying to start off the fight. Each time I go through my cycle, before I knock him down, I want to do medium, because that's going to give me the slow. That's going to stop the evader, the unstoppable. Whichever one you do first in this cycle is going to last the longest. So keep that in mind. If you want to try to get as many of these charges going up as quick as possible, you might want to go medium, light, medium, because that's going to be an evade. If you do that, I mean, an evade, that's going to be a stun. Pretty much opposite of evade, right? Unless it's Quicksilver. Anyway, medium, light, medium. If you do that first, it's going to be a longer stun. That way you could throw in some extra combos. You could do a medium, get a charge. You could throw in a medium, get a charge. And then try to get a knockdown before that, or heavy, before the stun wears off, depending on masteries and other things. And you can restart the cycles. You can build up charges much quicker like that. So as we'll see the different charges, you can do the medium to get the slow. You can do the medium, which is going to take off debuffs. I'm running Suicide Mastery, so unless I'm trying to do something special, or unless I'm not paying much attention, a lot of times I'll start off the fight with a medium, because I'm trying to take off some of my debuffs that I am running from the Suicide Masteries, the bleed, the poison. Then medium, medium is going to be break block. Again, whichever ones you do first out of the cycle before heavy to reset them is going to be the longest. And so whichever ones you need the longest duration, you want to do first. And then do the heavy, and then again, whatever one you need to have the longest duration, and prefer to have the longest duration, then go ahead and do that one first after you do a heavy. If you don't have any preference, you can start off with a medium, light, medium, get a couple combos and get charges, do a heavy, and just keep repeating that. The more charges we get on there, the more damage we're going to do when we do that S2. So for shorter fights, you can go ahead and do the running charges, keep going. Once you get to an S2, keep cycling through. Once you can only run them once before you reset them, and you will see like the little colors up in the top left under the health bar, how they, once you use them, how they will change. You can just go ahead, use them. And then you can go ahead, once you go through most or all of them, reset them with the heavy, go through them again, keep going through them. Short fights, go through them a few times, and then launch that S2. You're going to get some massive damage. We'll end a lot of fights right there. If you don't end the fight, do it again. Get a bunch of charges again. Keep going through the rotations, reset them with the heavies along the way, get back to an S2. We'll end that fight most likely. If it is a higher health pool fight, you can go and keep doing all of your charges, get up to the S3, which is going to increase some critical damage. Not a whole lot, but a little something. But the big thing for running the S3 is to let you keep working up your charges. So you can keep doing medium, medium, whatever, followed by heavies each time to keep bumping up your charges as high as you want. Once you're high enough as you want, launch that S3, and that will reset your power bar without resetting your charges. That's how you get your charges higher. And then you keep going on your charges as you work back up to an S2. Before it hits S3 again, you're just going to go ahead and make sure you hit your S2. It's going to take away all of your charges that you've got from running those cheat charges. And that's going to give you some massive damage along the way. So again, the great thing about him, several ways you can kind of rotate playstyle, several ways you can work him to different content. Easily one of my favorite skill. Believe it or not, he's not my favorite skill, but he is among my favorite, well, probably my top 2. Anyway, hope you enjoy this. Hope if you like this kind of content, you like this kind of video, please let me know. Don't forget to click that subscribe button. Mcoc, all Bundy rules.